get the majority or those things? Can you say one by one? I have that now 435, in House. So now maybe you expecting 233. That's what you mentioned there.
Yeah, we never know. I mean,
Yeah.
we're all surprised with the 2016 election,
Yeah.
but we have more great candidates than we've ever had before. We're contesting 433 out of 435 races, which is the most any party's contested in American history. And in Virginia, we have 6 women and 1 man running for these 7 Republican seats, and they're very good candidates. So we're optimistic that we can pick up a lot of seats. We don't know quite how many. My hope is we pick up 38 seats
38 seats.
and end up with 233. It'd be better to have more, that have a little margin so that people can sometimes divert from our plans.
And then,
Well, I certainly think that we're going to take the majority. Democrats will take the majority. I have had the opportunity to meet a lot of the red to blue candidates, and they're an amazing crop of really qualified candidates, some of the best that I've heard, some of the best that have ever run in a cycle. But for me, my concern is flipping 1 seat red to blue, and that's Virginia 10.
and then Gerry.
Well, I think that this election in many ways has been set since the beginning of the year, and not much has changed except that it gets more favorable for Democratic prospects. The country wants a midterm correction. It wants checks and balances on this president, especially. The energy among not only Democrats but independents, a lot of moderate Republican women coming to vote Democratic because they are very alarmed by what they're seeing in this president. And he is certainly fueling a lot of the reaction and the energy and enthusiasm. But I also think the Republican Congress just simply has fallen down on the job. They haven't provided any oversight or any accountability to Donald Trump in the 2 years he's been in the presidency. And I think this country understands that we're a constitutional form of government, and that the Congress is a separate but co-equal branch of government charged with a constitutional mandate to provide oversight and accountability. And if the Republicans aren't going to do it, and they haven't, then Democrats will. And I think the country is going to give us that mandate next Tuesday.
Actually, nowadays a lot of things happening. You saw what happened in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and also a lot of bomb, rattled to Democrat, people like, Obama or other Hillary Clinton. And then people are talking about, is this the right way or no? And then what do you think? Do you think this country is going now the right direction or something's wrong?
Why don't you start?
Well, it's very clear that it's too easy for hate-filled people to get their hands on weapons and kill others. So obviously this is something that's a problem. Doing something about gun violence is something that the Republican Congress has once again fallen down on the job about, and my opponent, Barbara Comstock, is one of the top recipients of funding from the NRA. She's bought and paid for by the gun lobby. I think that people are really disgusted by the failure to act, and it's going to be something that motivates a lot of people to come out and vote for gun sense candidates in November.
Okay.
Well, I think one of the great tragedies of American life is that for the first time, I think, in history, we have a president who is intent on dividing us rather than uniting us.
Okay.
And the hate-filled rhetoric that he spews all the time is attacking the free press. The way he treats women and the names he has called women do nothing but legitimize this racial animus, this racial hatred. He seems to think that the whole problem with America is we have too many immigrants, too many new Americans. And let's look at the tragedies over the last week. Every one of them came from a white supremacist, not our immigrants who are the backbone of this economy.
Okay, Gerry.
I don't believe that the tragedies that we've witnessed are indicative of a rightward shift in America, if you look at the reaction that's been going on since Trump got inaugurated to every one of these major events, starting with the Women's March the day after the inauguration, millions of Americans have expressed themselves by actually protesting, and millions more volunteering early for the midterm. We've seen a shift in public attitude about guns, favoring reasonable gun control, and I think that's going to reverberate in the elections we're about to have. I think most Americans are decent people who want to see America work. They don't like hate-filled rhetoric. They are very uncomfortable about this president inciting violence, and I think it's important to recall that. Just a few weeks ago at a political rally, the president praised one of our colleagues in Congress who pled guilty to body slamming a reporter and has a misdemeanor charge on his record as a result, and yet Trump said, that's my kind of guy. That is explicit. That's not even a dog whistle. And during his political campaign, he actually praised people who attacked dissenters in rallies and offered to pay for their legal costs if they punched them out. That is incitement to violence. And so I think most Americans find that abhorrent. And even if they supported Trump, they're not comfortable with that kind of rhetoric. This is an accepting country. And I think we're going to see that verdict next Tuesday from the American people.
You guys have a question?
Major one question we have is, as in Ethiopians, or we came from Ethiopian TV, and most immigrants and other from outside really don't think voting can make a difference for them, and they really don't vote. So how do you guys explain that, as how it impacts people's voting, how it's really important, and how can it change?
Well, let me start. If you think voting doesn't matter, then you must be very happy with Donald Trump. 40% of the American people did not vote, including immigrants. And look at what that produced. It is imperative. Power in America for every new arrival group, including mine, the Irish. Power flows to the vote. When you can express yourself at the ballot, you cannot be ignored. Your rights will be enhanced, and you will get a say in the shape of our government and in the course of the country. It is imperative that everybody vote.
We used to say, if you don't vote, you don't count. And there are so many examples in Virginia alone. The control of the General Assembly in Virginia last year was decided on a tie vote, and someone pulled a name out of a hat. George Allen, who was our governor, won his first election by 5 votes. Jim Scott, who used to represent, or just around this district, won his first election by 1 vote. So there are many, many instances where a handful of votes can change it. And especially for a new American, someone coming from Ethiopia, for example, if you want to be a full player in this incredible democracy, the very first thing you have to do is show up and be part of the voting.
And absolutely, I would echo everything the 2 congressmen have said, but I would add that, if these are, if there are issues that are important to you, like access to quality, affordable health care, like being free from gun violence, like making sure the public schools are as strong as they can be and that college is affordable, these are issues that there are Democratic candidates running on these issues, and it will make a difference in the elections that we have and in the policies that are pursued by the administration and Congress. So, if you don't like what's happening, you have an option to change it by turning out and voting on November 6th.
There's an important insight that we heard from Tim Kaine's wife, Ann Holton Kaine, the other night, that when turnout is 50% or greater, Democrats almost always win. And it's 40% or lesser, Republicans usually win. Which means the more people participate in our democracy, the more likely Democrats are to win. Basically, when democracy wins, Democrats win, and vice versa. So if you really care about the kind of government you want to have to show up. Because the Republicans are going to show up.
And especially for immigrant groups, new arrivals, voting in America, the history of voting in America is about empowerment. Now, it doesn't always come naturally. People have had to fight for it. But it works, and it transforms. But it also empowers. And I think that's really important. When you come to America, you are empowered. The question is, will you take advantage of that empowerment and vote? You know, hopefully, increasingly, many of our immigrant communities are going to do just that.
Second question is a little bit similar to the first one, but the other one, the first one are for the people that don't even involve themselves, that really don't vote at all. The other one is, what about for the people that want to engage themselves in their civic engagements or that want to help you guys in certain ways? How can they involve themselves with your groups and make it a better
Well,
process?
Jennifer ought to take that one because she's in the middle of a heated campaign, challenging an incumbent, and has you know, built an organization to give an answer to that question.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of things that people can do. They can visit my website, jenniferwexton.com. They can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and see, you know, the issues that are important, the things that we're doing, find out all the various issue areas and our positions on different things. But there are lots of events. This is Get Out the Vote time. So, you know, if somebody really wants to get involved, they can help by making phone calls or knocking doors or helping bring people to the polls, making sure that their friends and neighbors are aware of this election and how important all the issues are. Because, you know, we can truly send an example in this upcoming election that what's happening in Washington is not representative of our values, and the people can do that by rising up and going to the polls on November 6th.
Even a simple act like writing a postcard. In Virginia, volunteers have written 332,000 postcards reminding their neighbors to come out and vote. So there are lots of avenues for making your contribution in addition to voting.
And once we get past the election, after Jennifer wins next Tuesday, join the Democratic Committee. And also join the PTA and the Chamber of Commerce and do everything you can to be part of the greater community. Build your social capital. It's the fastest way to assimilate, to become fully American in every respect. And our Democratic committees have doubled in size since Donald Trump was elected. And by the way, they're self-selected. They're almost all wonderful people. No couch potatoes on these committees.
So, other question?
Hi, how are you? Milagros Melendez with El Tiempo Latino.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Steve Connolly. And probably my colleagues have made a question, but today President Donald Trump said that he will revoke the citizenship for children that are born here from undocumented parents. What is your answer in respect?
Well, can I just say, I am sending a copy of the United States Constitution to Donald Trump. And knowing his aversion to reading, I'm going to highlight the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment is quite explicit about the right of citizenship to anyone born in this country. And an executive order does not nullify that. So I expect it to be quickly challenged and overturned in a court of law. But it's a reprehensible mentality that you would want to do that. That amendment's been in the Constitution for 140 years. And it follows on an assault. Don and I've introduced a bill, for example, on refugees. This administration only wants to let in 21,000 refugees this year. The last year of the Obama administration, we had 110,000. And we call the bill the Lady Liberty Act because we're reminding Americans of what it says. The Emma Lazarus poem on the Statue of Liberty. You know, give me, you're tired, you're poor, you're huddled masses, to breathe free. And it didn't say, give me only your skilled workers or your well-to-do populations. We're a haven, and we want to stay that way. That's a fundamental American identity. And this president doesn't get that. And we're gonna challenge that every step of the way.
Why do you think that today, just 1 week before the elections, he is coming out with this statement when the health issues, job and economic is the main issues besides immigration?
I would say it's a very cynical move to appeal to the worst elements of his base. And he's counting on our base, especially immigrant communities, not voting. And that's why the Ethiopian question, going back to your question, is so important. Will we stand up for our rights? Will we challenge that in the legal, peaceful manner we can by voting?
This again is among the most hateful things of a man who's done many hateful things. And it shows an extraordinary lack of understanding of American history, of his own family history. The Drumpfs from Germany only go back 1-2 generations. Shall we revoke his citizenship retroactively? It's just the wrong possible thing to do. And further evidence of a so-called leader who wants to divide us rather than unite us. He doesn't want to lift us up, he wants us to hate each other. And what a great way to do it.
And now,
This is clearly just a way of pandering to,
Yeah.
as Congressman Connolly pointed out, the worst aspects of his base. But let's remember that this is not the only thing. I mean, he started out his administration with the Muslim ban. Jeff Sessions in the Department of Justice has formed an immigrant denaturalization task force to go after naturalized citizens. So that has been, his MO throughout his administration, to divide us and to go after and cause fear among people, to even take that step and become a naturalized citizen.
Don mentioned history, and I think it's important to remember, look, America has not always been perfect on the subject of nationalism and immigration. But we always end up coming out on the better side. There was an anti-immigrant party founded in the 19th century known as the Know Nothing Party. They elected a lot of members of Congress. But you know what? That party faded away. We'll get through this period of time too. I believe that Donald Trump's appeal to xenophobia and nativism is going to fail. And if you needed a healthy reminder of where we all are, when he issued his executive order banning Muslims, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of non-Muslims showed up at airports all over America. I was there, Don was there at Dulles Airport to protest that, to stand shoulder to shoulder with our Muslim brothers and sisters. And I think that was a powerful statement of where the true American spirit really is.
And regarding the two, District 7, District 10, that there are the closest battles, and District 10 is probably in the country, it is the closest to this battle. It's very tight, and I understand District 10 is like 20% of immigrants live in District 10. How important and what is, I know CASA in Action and other groups, organizations from immigrant community are helping to encourage people to get out and vote that day. But how is your running, Ms. Wexton, and how important is for people to understand that you win in this context?
Oh, it's vital that we have a Congress who's going to stand up to this president and protect new Americans and our immigrant community. We saw in the elections last year in Virginia what happens when more people come and turn out. And we elected 15 new Democrats to the House of Delegates, 11 of whom are women, including the first two Latina delegates in Virginia history, the first Asian American woman elected, African American, LGBT. It looks more like the community. So when people actually come out and vote, they end up with And we were able to expand Medicaid to 400,000 hardworking Virginians. So when people come out and vote their values, good things happen. But in order to do that, they need to come out and vote. And what's another thing that Senator Kane and I are doing, or we're advertising. We both speak Spanish, and we're advertising on Spanish language radio to get the word out. And I don't know that other candidates have done that in the past. But I hope that we'll be able to turn out the Spanish, the Latino vote, because it will be such an important part.
Can you say something in Spanish for the recording regarding the voto Latino?
Por tu futuro, vota el 6 de noviembre. Gracias.
Sí se puede.
Sí se puede.
Now we have just 1 hour. So I think we need to change it. The format 101. Yeah. So we will
Well,
have
before you do that, does anyone else have questions for us?
I think we're gonna do it 101.
101. Yeah. We already agreed.
Okay, very
Gonna
good.
go first?
I mean, we are